There's 2 pixels between a lute and like a butternut squash and a guitar.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, should we do a podcast?
We should.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Yatta!
Sugoi.
Welcome, everyone, to Hacking the Grepson, the podcast about programming and development and, as of late, game-specific development. And oh boy, if I didn't put like special music before this, like a custom version of the theme song, I should have. But regardless, we have a special guest on the podcast today who you may remember from our last episode. We talked about a game that was in development called Rorasuketo, which I helped out with by doing the soundtrack, but the person who's actually doing all of the programming and the visuals and 99% of this game coming to fruition is a person I know named Cam Norcross, who happens to be on the podcast today. Welcome!
Woohoo! Hi, gents. Can I call you gents? Is that okay?
No,
I suppose.
Never. That's weird. No, it's fine. So yeah, so when I talked to Matt last time about Rorasuketo, I was talking about it from my viewpoint, which was I wrote the music for it, but I didn't do any of the programming. And I'm like, you know what? The best person to talk to about this game is the person who is doing the programming. So I'm like, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? And they said, yay. So now they're here. And now we're going to talk to you about the game. Is that cool?
That is cool. I'm going to try to breathe.
Right.
It's okay. I can cut out the breathing later.
Oh, no. This is a no breathing podcast.
Okay.
You have to do this entire 30 minutes in one breath.
And so, no. So my first question, Cam, Rorasuketo, where did this very interesting and unique game come from?
Well, thank you for calling it interesting and unique. I played roller derby starting in about 2015. And I think I started working on Rorasuketo in about 2018. So I've been playing roller derby for about 3 years. And it was...
Wait, like in real life playing roller derby, not like a video game roller derby?
Yeah, real roller derby.
Oh, that's wild.
You've got scars and bruises to show for that, right?
Yes, I do.
They're a cooler
This is
person
an audio
than I will
podcast,
ever be.
No, it's weird. Yes. So I was actually one of the slowest people on the team progressive wise. So like I was a couch potato, never did a lot of sports in school. So it was a big deal for me to actually go from couch potato to like quote athlete. Cause I actually ended up about 4 years later, like making the A team. So I was like traveling to Pittsburgh to go to tournaments. And I actually played in a couple of jams over there in Pittsburgh. So that was like just a crazy trajectory. And I was like, this is wild, and I kind of want people to be able to experience this maybe a little bit, like have the chance to feel what it feels like to like rise to, not stardom. But hey, look, there's me in Pittsburgh for, 2 minutes, and then that's it.
Regional, local, niche stardom. I can relate to this.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the game is about too. Like, because you start as someone who's like never played before, like I did. And my friend and I, Tiffany, who we'll probably talk about, we were like, okay, what do you don't like win the championship, right? We're going to go to Division 2 championships. Like, we're not even going to go to Div 1. Like, you're not going to play roller derby for 2 weeks and then go to Div 1. So
it's somewhat realistic then in the ability that how far you can traverse.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Cam, though, like what interested you in even trying roller derby of all things when you were trying to like, I'm a couch potato, I don't want to be a couch potato? I mean, you could have done many different sports and activities, so why roller derby?
It tends to happen where you go to a game to watch it, and then you're like, no, I'm going to do that. I'm there.
Wow.
Like, I'm done. That's it for me. Like, you just kind of fall in love with it right away. So
it's
like
if you had
improv
gone
then.
to a competitive underwater basket weaving competition, it would have been that.
Yeah, maybe.
That would have, I don't know if that would have been as interesting of a game. Although, to be fair, I haven't actually gotten to play this game because it's not compatible with any of the things I own.
I can help you with that later.
I don't do a lot of computing or do a lot of gaming on my actual computer.
Okay, fair.
But I want to, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, I've got the website up that Cam and I made like when I first finished the soundtrack for it 7 years ago or whatever, and that's at rorasuketo.win. And I think one of my favorite parts about this website is that I think it's made in Hugo. The blog is made in Hugo, which is a Golang based website. I'd never used Go. I still don't use Go, but the random theme that I found is this split screen, at least when the window is big enough where it has like kind of the content on the right and either a picture or a video on the left. And Cam made a really cool video of kind of like splicing different clips of action from different scenes of the game. So basically when you open up the website, it's like it's almost like you're playing the game in kind of a read-only way immediately, which I think is something that like the Steam system started doing, I don't know, a couple years ago, where when you open up a game's detail page, if it's popular enough, they might have like a streamer playing it. Like if it just came out, they're playing it right now. But if not, they at least have videos or images, and it auto plays the video because, it like immediately gets your attention and is like, well, I'm going to this place to play a game or learn about a game, so I might as well see the game happening, because reading about a game is just not as immediately engaging. So that's something that I like about this, and it makes me want to start playing it immediately just because it is playing immediately.
And he's saying we, by the way, which is very gracious. So, I totally helped with that in some fashion at some point.
Well,
so,
I mean, all the visuals you made, I just put them in boxes, And
so all you programmers selling yourselves short.
That's what we do. Our artists self-deprecate, right? You don't know anything about that, right? That's not something you do.
I would weigh in, but I'm not even an artist, so.
You're an artist with code and with words, man. As an improver.
Yeah, man. Own that. I mean, stuff.
I was self-deprecating.
Oh, okay, very nice. Yeah, it's okay. You can swear on this podcast.
I'm so great.
Although I don't know what my mom's going to think if you go too far, so just keep that in mind.
We'll just replace them all with like one of us overdubbing with like poop or something.
Yatta!
Exactly. I will edit all of the swears with yatta if I get around to it. So my next question was, since I already started getting technical about the programming stuff behind the website about the game, can you tell us a little bit about how Rorasuketo is made?
Okay, so I will come back with a question. When you guys say something like, something I've seen this said, this is a really powerful tool, what does that even mean? Because I feel like I hear that all the time, and I'm like, is RPGMaker a powerful tool? I actually have no idea. Maybe it is.
That's an interesting question. I would say that it just means that you can do a lot with it comparatively to how much work you're putting into it.
I like that.
It's like AI is a powerful tool because I can get a lot out of it. The C compiler, maybe not, because that's a lot of work in and out.
Okay, so I use a powerful tool called RPGMaker, and a lot of it is click, point, drag kind of a thing. It's probably not as click, point, drag as, like Flash is or something like that, and I'm really dating myself with that one. But you just open up a map, you click and drag what they call events. And then I think we were talking before about like what I was calling the if-else statements or if-then or whatever you want to kind of call those.
Conditionals.
Yes. Which the other thing I was going to say was I was listening in to one of the other episodes, and I did do a little bit of Perl programming, like the tiniest bit, like enough to...
Oh, I'm so sorry for you.
Me too, actually.
I did enough to make like a Dungeons and Dragons character creator thing, but that was really it. So like, nice. You rolled an 18. But no, RPGMaker. So it's a lot of click and drag and like, what do you want this event to do? Here's 3 windows of options that you kind of click down. And then like, do you want to change the character's hit points? Do you want to, make a conditional any way, shape, or form? Do you want to fade out the screen? So I'd use a lot of that really basic stuff, but you can use plugins, which are, the add-ons that people do. And honestly, the coding for that, I would love it if y'all would understand more about how the plugins work, because to me, it's like, the steps between a green screen and what I'm looking at right now, all your lovely faces, like my brain has a hard time connecting those dots and all those, in betweens, those middlemen, so to speak.
I was curious, like, when you made your first scene, like, what was the first scene in this game that you made, if you can even remember?
It was probably, I remember making the first sprites, which were the sprites of the roller derby team actually like blocking and hitting and swinging their hips around and their shoulders around and stuff. So it was probably just like the roller derby team on screen, like blocking each other and just at a roller derby rink hanging out.
And do you make those sprites in RPGMaker or in an external tool?
No, I was using Photoshop at the time, and now I'm using something free because I'm cheap. But just
what's the thing?
Yeah, what do you use?
Krita.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's really similar.
Well, first off, I have terrible like art skills, like drawing, and that is not self-deprecating. I'm just really bad at it.
I was going to ask.
And so like sprites for me are just like, I'm like, how does this work? Somehow the little blocks on the screen they actually look like something, and it seems like that should be really easy. But when I try to do it, I can get a stick figure or it's just a blob. Like if I try to add any sort of detail.
No, yeah.
Like
so I've been using AI to generate my sprites.
Not judging, not judging.
I'm looking at the website and I'm watching the animation of Katie, your main character, walk from the left to the right. And it looks like they have 4 frames of animation or maybe 3 and then one's like flipped. You have like one where you're not moving and then one leg in front and then another leg in front. Like how do you go from not having that at all to having one of those animations? Like do you see it in your head or do you look at other animations and sort of like synthesize from that? Like that's, because I'm with Matt too. Like I'm not a visual artist. That's not my forte at all. I've spent some time making very simple pixel art, but nothing on the scale of this game. So I'm just curious, like how you go from nothing to just that single walking to the right animation.
I probably do look at a lot of other sprites. Like I think about Dragon Warrior and I think about Super Nintendo, like Final Fantasy games, just the standard like walking back and forth on the screen. And I guess I could say something like I do have a background in like visual arts, comic books. I remember we had the old like Disney animation book that was like a big hardback and they would show you like how they did the bouncing ball and all the different tricks for the stretching of animations and things like that, how you over exaggerate, which you don't really do in pixel art as much, I feel, as you do in traditional animation. To me, there's less room if you have, 3 frames instead of 24, but
yeah.
For the bigger sprites, I definitely do a sketch first. Like if I'm doing a battle sprite or something, I'll sketch something out because if I start with a canvas of like 300 pixels, I'm lost too. I'm like, the head's over here, the foot's over here. It's a Picasso situation. My proportions are all screwed up. I don't know what's going on. So I do enjoy working in like, I think my sprites are 24 by, I can't do the math right now because everything's doubled when I import it. So like, it's really embarrassing, but they're no bigger than like 40 pixels tall, even double, I think like 42 maybe. RPGMaker tends to work in, God, is it 46? I'm really embarrassing myself right now because I haven't worked on the graphics.
Maybe 48 because usually it's 8, 16.
Yeah, RPGMaker, it's like its
32,
default is 32
64.
pixels.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Usually even. It's always going to be even. That's all.
Well, I mean, usually things in computers are some sort of power of 2 because that's the efficient way of storing things.
A bunch of on-offs, basically.
I remember in college, like my first computer science class, when we started talking about that, and at some point in time, they mentioned the number 255, right? Because 0 to 255 is 256, which is a power of 2. And I went, oh, that's why you could only have 255 rupees in Legend of Zelda.
Oh my God, that's great.
My mind
was an 8-bit
exploded.
number. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's just 8 zeros or 1s in some various configuration. Yeah.
I want to say opacity in RPG Maker is a 0 to 255
Probably.
as well. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Once you
just blew my
realize
mind.
something like that, you start seeing that kind of thing everywhere because
Yeah.
it's all based on. It reminds me of this one book. I can't remember it. I probably should have thought of it before, but it was basically the store. It might have just been called Code or something like that. Something like that basic, and it was the story of computers, but it started with something as simple as like two friends in different houses next to each other, and they wanted to communicate with each other, but they had to wait till nighttime and it had to be secret, so they had flashlights, and they would just like, click on, off, basically doing, binary communication, and that's like the simplest way you get, and then you go from that, and then we have iPhone supercomputers in our pocket eventually.
Which is still weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
All
that
right,
middle
so I have
ground.
some questions.
Okay.
Okay, Matt has questions.
First question, I think Mike already answered it, but like indirectly. But
42.
Is the main character Katie or Caddy? Because the Mean Girls movie and musical is in my head, and I just want to say Caddy every time I look at that.
Oh, alas, it is like Katie. I met a Katie one time, a Kady, and I just really liked it. It's like I don't know if her name was Katie with a T, like the classic like Catherine Katie, or it was like more because they were more like an androgynous kind of person. So I liked that androgynous Katie kind of version of it. So I went with that.
I like that spelling of it too. Yeah, Katie Heron in Mean Girls is it's with the C, but otherwise I think it's spelled like that. And it is Katie, except for like one character calls her Caddy the whole time.
I've never seen that movie, and that's a shame on my part. I'm sorry.
The Broadway musical version is really good. The movie version of the Broadway musical is okay, and the original movie is very good.
Wait, they made a movie about the Broadway version?
And they didn't bring all the songs in, which is stupid. Yeah, it's like somewhere in between the original movie and the Broadway musical is the musical movie. Anyway, listen to the Broadway soundtrack; it's better. Okay, so that was my first question. Second, do you have? So you mentioned that you done a little bit of Perl programming at one point. Is that like what's your background programming wise at all? Is that it? Did you play around like on web pages in the early aughts? Like what's your background there?
Yes.
Before you started doing all the game maker stuff.
Woohoo. So yeah, my dad worked with semiconductors, and so I didn't know a ton about that. Honestly, he kind of hated it, so he didn't talk about that very much. So maybe that's a programmer joke. I don't know. But yeah, I started making a web page in about 1998, I think, when we had you got a free web page with your, service provider and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I remember it was like a blue background with like 7 GIFs of Kirby swimming. And then it was like, welcome to my web, like the classic GeoCities we all know and love.
Did it have a counter? Did it have a guest book?
Oh, it totally had a counter.
Yeah.
Did it have a random MIDI song from a early 80s
like a Disney
TV
song
show?
or something?
Mine was the Cheers theme song when you went to my website.
Welcome. Everybody knows your name
Don't know
here.
why.
Did you know everybody's name who came to your website though?
I don't know everyone's name, period.
Dude,
I'm terrible with names.
There were a lot fewer people on the internet back then. Just saying.
There was me and George. And that's it.
So yes, I do remember, and I started working on other web pages too. I remember doing frames, right? The TR, TD tags, all that stuff.
yeah.
But once CSS came around, because we were on LiveJournal, all of us cool kids were.
Yep.
But once the CSS
We
and the
all were
JavaScript, what was that?
So we were all on LiveJournal.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think
That's kind of how we met.
that's why this is happening right now, because of LiveJournal. Props to LiveJournal.
That's how I met my wife.
That's how I met my wife.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Wait, did you meet your husband that way? Please tell me. Yes.
Craigslist, if that's cool too.
Wow. That's amazing.
Wait, was it a personals or was he just selling like a lawnmower?
It was strictly platonic, if you can believe it.
Okay.
So you've done a little webpage dev, which in the late 90s like that, at least from my perspective, even as a webmaster, which was my official job title for my first job, was go to another web page, copy stuff out of the source, and put it in yours and mess around with it a little bit until it did what you wanted.
Yeah, I think there was some of that. I also had the HTML for Dummies book, which I probably referenced a little bit. But yeah, I think there was a lot of that plug and play kind of situation too. And with
Did you come into it when like WYSIWYG editors had become like a thing?
I don't even know what that means.
What you see is
front
what you
page
get
or something?
is what the
Or front
WYSIWYG
page?
stands for.
Oh, wow.
It was sort of like,
Or were you? But you said TR and TD, so you were in there actually.
Yeah,
coding
you knew the
tables
code.
and
Yeah. I
the
was
markup.
typing it by hand.
Okay, cool.
None of that
Yeah,
Dreamweaver
WYSIWYG was
crap.
like the next.
with your
Yeah.
hands forming the open and closing.
My cracking
They were there
knuckles.
with the magnet, changing the actual bytes on the disk.
Flipping all the bits until it looked right.
Right. I know.
So how did you then go from that to, hey, I want to make a game? How did you decide like Game Maker? And like, is this something I can do?
So I had a friend in like 2006 who actually gave me a pirated copy of RPGMaker, and I never touched it ever. But I think so here's the thing about me, right? Can I be egotistical for a second and talk about me?
Please.
I am someone who constantly has like a wandering eye for art projects, and there's a lot of things I like, and I'm like, I want to do that. And so I just kind of start doing it. And I think I have a natural aptitude for picking stuff up, but a terrible aptitude for like self-determination, sticking with stuff. So I've done a lot of little tiny things. So RPGMaker was kind of like one of those like, you know, fits of, oh, hey, cool, I'll do this. Why not? I like Final Fantasy, and those gave me a lot of joy, those old games. And I mean, they weren't old at the time, right? But those games. So it's like comic books, music, like all that kind of crap. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And then I just start doing it for, 2 weeks and then I burn out. But so RPGMaker was one of those.
So you fit in very well on this podcast. Welcome to Hacking the ADHD Grepson.
Yay!
It's one. Yeah, we talked about this recently. Where like the two hardest things are starting something and finishing something. Because we love the juicy middle part where you're just like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and it's getting better, and like, oh wait, I have to actually stop and put a pin on this at the end. Let's start a new thing instead.
I prototype things all the time, and I'm like, cool. I get that I can do the concept of that.
Yes.
And then I stop. So good for you for actually making a game.
Yeah.
Well, it's not done yet.
More done than anything I've
but it's
made.
potentially going to be done by the end of the year. Is that still the self-imposed deadline?
That is the plan. Yes. I'm hoping summer. Summer would be awesome because I work at a college, so summer really slows down and I need more things to do. So, yeah.
I'm curious when you decided that you wanted to make a game, when you make this game, was RPGMaker your first choice, or were there other choices that you were considering?
Oh, gosh. I feel like it was always kind of my first choice because it seemed the most applicable to what I wanted to do. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, there might have actually been a game before Rorasuketo that I had it in mind for. So I have like a world building project where there's like a fantasy world, right? And there's like, it's like a sword and sorcery kind of thing. And I was always bouncing around from like, oh, this is going to be an orchestral suite. Oh, this is going to be a comic book. Oh, this is going to be this. And like always like thinking the next thing. And so it was going to be, yeah, right. Like, oh, what's the right medium for my idea? Maybe it's a 16-bit classic like JRPG. So actually, sorry to interrupt with that, but yeah, I think that was my first RPGMaker project maybe. And then it's just kind of what I had, so I was going with it. It just seemed the natural choice, I guess.
Makes
I mean,
sense.
yeah, I think that makes sense. We often, we're much like we're kind of, well, there's some debate on whether, the language we have decides on what we think is possible in the world. But on a more specific scale, like the game that you make is often shaped by the tools you have. If you only have MS Paint and a text editor, you're going to make a very different game than if you have Unity and, a team of 3 working with you to answer all your questions and help you with everything. So
I think I'm making King's Quest either way.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
How
Let's
good
go.
will it be in MS Paint and a text editor versus the Unity team? That's the question.
Better.
Yeah. I was curious.
Except I'm doing it, so not.
So what, we already got into the whole, like, it's hard to start things, it's hard to finish things, and you've been working on this game for, I would say, a long time. What were the things that caused you, because I'm assuming you have not been working on this straight for 7 years, like, every day. So
Correct.
There's been starts and stops. So, like, what would you say are the things that would cause you to stop working on it, and what are the things that got you back into it?
Okay, so I think for a while it was misdiagnosed with a form of bipolar disorder. So I think like there's that hypomania element of like getting really into something for, I think my maximum was about 2 weeks of just like working on it constantly, and then on just burning out, like I can't do this anymore. I keep forgetting to eat and it's just not happening, or hitting a point where I am someone who needs a lot of validation and kind of attention, if I can just be mean and say that for a second about myself.
It's not mean. That's totally normal.
Okay. So not getting that attention or not seeing results, I think was a big thing too. Like if I am working in RPGMaker and I do a scene, like a little cut scene, right? And I can watch the cut scene play over and over again for 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, cool. I finished something that's so adorable. Look at what I did. But so much of it is just a grind, right? I'm assuming even more so for the kind of programming y'all do. It's just a grind and you don't get to see the results and you just don't feel like you've accomplished anything.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that's true. One of the reasons, I mean, I'm gonna keep hitting AI because it's my current like thing that I use to program. One of the things I like about that is it took a lot of the drudgery out of writing code, as a lot of frameworks do, right? Like something like RPGMaker abstracts away a lot of the like nitty gritty stuff, and it's like, here you can just go in and make a thing now, and that's actually what I'm trying to build right now is scaffolds and like frameworks for like, okay, I want to try out this idea. Great. Where's my top-down 2D framework? I want a Zelda like. Boom. Now I can just start playing with things. Oh, it's a Metroid, but you use your mouse to fling yourself across the screen. Great. But I have to have the Metroid type thing available already. And so like these kind of tools do that for you, or give you that edge that lets you get to that without getting blocked constantly by the learning curve. At least that's the hope.
Yeah, for real.
And we've talked before about, like, especially with Mike, like seeing the tangible results of the thing you're making is huge for like the stuff he builds. He's like, yes, this is what gets me moving.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, because when I first started programming, yeah, I did the thing that Matt was talking about, where like, ooh, websites and free space on our local ISP, and okay, grab stuff from other places, synthesize, modify, put up my own thing. But the difference between working on a web development project versus something like, I don't know, an embedded system, working on like, just the logic, the business logic, or the data storage structure of some embedded system versus I change this value from red to blue and I refresh a thing and it was red before, now it's blue. Oh my God. That feedback cycle of change, see change is, for me, very important and the thing that keeps me going. And that's why I'm still in web development, 30 years later and just, working on the same kind of thing. And I don't know how other programmers who don't have that feedback cycle keep themselves going. And same with the game. I mean, you make a change in the game, hopefully you can see it as soon as possible to see whether it was what you wanted, yay, then move on. If not, go back to the drawing board, try something else. And computers have gotten faster, so even if they have to compile, I'm assuming if you make a change in in RPGMaker, how much time is there between I change this value, I save the project, I run it again to see it? Like, how long does that take?
Oh, immediate.
Seconds?
Yeah.
Immediate, right. But imagine if this was 30 years ago and you were working on like a Nintendo game in assembly and you wanted to make Mario's sprite slightly different. I'm sure the time was not instant, and I don't know how they kept themselves inspired and going. It seems, you talk about a grind, like they're still making games. They ended up making the most classic game of all time, but the actual grunt work of making that game must have been ugh, you know?
Actually, this kind of leads into something that I would have loved to talk about if I had thought about it beforehand, but I think it's a really big thing
about it
about
now.
Yeah, go for it. Do it.
like why I keep coming back to it. And that's that well, there's two pieces to this that I want to say. So the first one is you can come back to it on a digital format much easier than you can like pen and paper, right? So if I go in and change one sprite, that changes all the sprites throughout the entire game. Whereas when I've done comic books or something like that, I draw 20 pages, I take a 6-month break, I come back, and my drawing style has completely changed. And it's like, I can't recreate. Now there's difference in the pages and there's this discrepancy and I don't know what to do. And it just feels different and wrong. And so being able to come back to RPGMaker where I left off and be like, oh, okay, well, there's some things I want to change, but I can change it on a universal scale where it feels more consistent. And the other part of that is limitations, where I think in a lot of ways the limitations help me work. Because if I had like a massive 3D modeling project, right? Like I was doing something of like a AAA studio kind of setting, if I had magic powers, there are so many choices to make that it is completely, I'm sure you've been talking about this for what, 14 episodes or something, how many choices you have and how many options you have. That's
all we've talked about so far, really.
Yeah,
it's like,
we've done very little actual programming.
What framework should we use? What do we think about this one? What kind of game should we make? Do we want this genre?
Let's spend weeks on this one.
It's so
and then,
open.
And then completely change it.
So that's what I would say to y'all. Like find a limitation, find some really stupid limitation. Like, can I give advice? Is that a weird? I'm so sagely and knowledgeable.
Please.
We're only going to use ones, no zeros.
Everything's just white.
Oh, I love it. Just call the game 1 and there you go.
Exactly. You already won as soon as you start the game. You've won and it's done. Speed run, immediate.
Please, Cam, what is your sagely advice? I would actually love to hear it.
Yeah.
No, you just take limitations and embrace them.
Oh, yeah.
Like set some hard lines. Like, so with my example with the modeling and stuff, like, okay, I have 42 pixels. I need to make a person. Well, their arm, the pixel for their hand is going to go here or it's going to go here. And I have 2 choices. That's it. One of them is going to feel better. I think I was talking to you, Mike, when I was making your sprite of the guy with the guitar. And I'm like, there's 2 pixels between a lute and like a butternut squash and a guitar. And so I'm just going to like choose the closest one.
Yeah, I think limitations are such an important aspect of building anything, right? I think that's why deadlines matter so much. If I don't have a deadline, I will mess with something and never do it forever. It's one of the reasons that like improv appeals to me is it's very immediate. You have you have time to mess around. You need to make a choice right now. So that constraint makes me make decisions. Whereas if I'm writing a sketch for a comedy sketch, that could go on forever because I'm going to keep trying to be like, oh, well, I could say anything here. What's the perfect word?
Absolutely. That sounds exactly right. That's a great example.
Yeah, the ability to make executive decisions is really important to go from the middle fun part where you're yak shaving and bike shedding potentially forever and a thing that is done that you can give to other people to experience. And unfortunately, there's also a huge art part to all the stuff we do, whether it's stuff I do for work or for fun. And the problem with art is that, that old saying of it's never finished, only abandoned, because you could, especially with websites, you can go and change a website forever. You could go back and change your game even when you're done forever. But do you want to? And is that really like the experience that you want other people to have, that this thing is not done and I'm going to keep potentially changing it forever? No, you kind of want to have like this is a 1.0 and maybe you make bug fixes or feature enhancements. But if you never talk to me again, this is the finished product and this is what I wanted it to be as best as I could by the time I gave myself to work on it. If I gave myself another 6 months, maybe it could be 3 times better. Maybe it'll be 3 times worse. Who knows? But we have a limited time on this earth to do things, and those things we do also should have some kind of ending. Otherwise, you never get them done. I wanted to follow up on this with another question about limitations, because I like that idea. I firmly believe that, creativity needs limitations. Were you more open about what your limitations were at the beginning of this project than you are now? Like, did you start slowly imposing more limitations and that helped you winnow what your game could be down to what it will be? Or did you have like a pretty good idea of like 42 pixels, day one? Nope, that's how it's going to be. Or you were like, no, they could be any size. Oh, wait, no, they can't.
Right. I think once I had the first sprites done, I was like, this is I like this. Because I think I think I tried like 3 different fantasy games in RPG Maker, possibly even, now that I think about it, alongside or before or whatever this one. Because I really like the Dragon Warrior, like they're what, like, I don't know, maybe 12, 16? It must be like 16 pixels tall. And they're adorable, and I love them so much. But like for roller derby, there's certain poses and stuff I was working with. And I'm like, okay, this person's going to be facing backwards, hitting with their shoulder. Yeah, I hit 42 pixels or whatever, and I was like, I like this. This is good. As far as other limitations that I imposed, the one that was hardest, and Mike knows about this, was I originally wanted it to be very JRPG, like here's your hit points, here's your skill points, here's all, Katie learned back block, which is an illegal move. You can't do that. But if you did learn it, maybe you'd get a penalty. But like, I wanted that system, but it was taking so long. This is going back to what you were saying too, Mike, like it was taking so long and I was being such a perfectionist about it and it just wasn't getting done. And I was like, all right, we're scrapping the battle system, which kind of broke my heart. But also, like, we're going to mash buttons. We're going to push buttons in time. We're going to repeat the sequence like Simon. We're going to do whatever else, which is kind of harder to do in RPG Maker. But I think I ended up liking that better because it made me focus more on the story, which the story has become more and more important over time. I think it started out as like, oh, let's have fun. And you too can experience the joy of roller derby. And now it's like, oh, I'm learning a lesson about what it's like to care about another person and want them to be okay. Like, how did that happen?
I think that's so cool. That's a thing that we have certainly struggled with a lot in trying to figure out what we're going to do. It's I tend to approach things from one of 2 ways when it comes to like creative endeavors. Either, like, especially for video games, I'm coming at it from a mechanic standpoint. I'm like, what is something I want to what's a thing I want to play with, right? Like the slingshot Metroidvania that we've talked about multiple times on this. I'm like, I love this idea. What is the game? I have no idea. I don't know what the world is. I don't know what the story is. I have no idea. Or I'll come at something from the other direction, like, oh, here's this cool story premise. And then I get stuck there, right? So I'm like, what do I do with that? I run a Dagger Heart, which is basically like D&D type TTRPG system game that Mike is in, and I built the entire world. I'm like, that's great. Now what do I do with it? I'm like, I have an entire mythology system that I built up. And so like I'm really good at like starting points. I'm like, oh, here's a cool mechanic, or here's a cool like world that I want to play in. And then making that into an actual story or an actual game or actually going somewhere, like that's the hard part to me of something like this. It's like, how do you make it into an actual thing that someone would want to play with, as opposed to it's like, oh, here's a neat tech demo, which is where I always end up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, how did you do that with Rorasuketo? Like, how do you go from like, I played roller derby and I want to share this with people to what it is now?
How did I do that?
Sat at the computer for many, 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 many hours.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it was just a lot of ideas, and even ideas for the story or the dialogue and mechanics are just like I was playing around. I was just in it. And I had the idea while I was working and thought like, oh, let's try this. I was just kind of tooling around. And this is the other thing that I've had a hard time with the game is I'll be like, okay, I really need to sit down and work on this part that's not a lot of fun to work on. Or I could program the part where, we go on a date on the art museum and we like make a bunch of pixel art of famous works of art. And then we like put them on a wall and put like shadow effects. And then it's like, oh, and that's why I have 3 roller derby games that have to be made still, but all the dates are done.
That kind of feels like what happens in web dev when you learn about a cool new technique. Like, oh, hey, you can do this in CSS now, or there's an easier way to do this in JavaScript, and it lets you, when you click on a link, it does a cool transition between pages rather than like a full loading thing.
Oh,
and then
Lord.
you're like, oh, I got to put that. Wait, but you haven't built the authentication system so people can log in, or the site has no content. Yeah, but when you click on a link, it does a cool little doodly bop. And yeah.
Yeah, that's another example of like, oh, look, here's a tech demo. It
tech
doesn't
demo.
actually do a thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cam.
Oh, I'm just an interrupter Jones today. I'm sorry. I'm not made for webcasting or podcasting or any of this stuff.
There's no rules. Just
The more
just
people
talk
you
when you
have,
talk.
yeah, the more people you have on a podcast, like especially this kind where it's all like over video chat, the harder it is to actually do. We have a 6-person D&D podcast that we do, and we're all improvisers, and not talking over each other is so hard. Mm-hmm. It just ends up with a couple of us just like, I'll wait. I'm not going to be that person.
See, this is
I'm
why
the
you need
quiet
limitations. Even
Yes.
in social interaction, it's like we need a talking stick, and you can only talk when you have the talking stick. That kind
You
of
have
thing.
the spotlight right now. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. So Cam,
Go for the spotlight.
Oh, well, okay, one thought, kind of going back a little bit, but I have 2 thoughts. Number 1, I'll come back to that. No, strike it. Number 2, y'all need take those dice and like do like, when like you have to make a decision where you're going to go to eat, right? Like, okay, Metroidvania is a D6, and then we're going to have like what's the language or whatever on another die and just roll them all. And then here's the great thing about that. If you don't like the result, just roll them again. No one has to know.
you can roll them again.
Because that's how you know, right? You get a result and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then you realize, oh, I actually don't want to do that. And then you just mark that one off the list. It's fine.
That's actually a really good way of viewing that. One of the reasons I'm going to go back to improv again, because an idea we had on this podcast that I've never really followed through with is the ideas from the improv world and how they align with like software development. But one of the things in improv that I don't think as an audience member I really got, but as a performer I do, is why we have suggestions. As an audience member, I was always like, oh, that's to prove that they're making it up. Sure. But what it really is it takes the entire scope of all the things you could possibly do in the entire universe, and it's like, boom, shortens it, like shrinks it down to like, this is your scope. And then every decision narrows that scope a little bit more and a little bit more until you have like, this is what the story is. This is what the game is. This is what the plot, the character, whatever. Every decision you make, as you add to it, narrows the scope a little bit more, because when you're trying to do something, what's the thing I would say? A scene about everything is a scene about nothing, right? If you don't make decisions, it's just so open-ended that you don't do anything. So having to make decisions helps. And having that starting point, so like you said, like rolling some dice and be like, that's your suggestion, go. And once we get to the point, at least for me, once I get to the point where I can actually then implement that, because right now I'm like, okay, neat. How do I do that? How do I make a Metroidvania? Then you can start playing. But that's how I approach things. And I think Mike approaches it from the opposite end of like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let's start building like what that would look like. And I'm like, how does this work? What are the mechanics? What's the architecture of this game?
I'm also lately just having kind of an inspiration issue. And so I'm curious, Cam, how much of the subject matter of Rorasuketo is what has kept you going in it, because it is something that's so personal. And I wonder sometimes if the reason why I'm not currently inspired by any particular game type or world is because it's not my world. It's not something that is personal to me. I'm not living it, and so it's not like constantly being reinforced. If I did, I don't know, if we made a game about, making a podcast, if we wanted to get super meta, like that would be, or just about programming or about web development or about, I don't know, living in California, like that would be something that would help reinforce the inspiration. So I'm so once again, that's kind of turning a question to you of like, how much do you think that is a part of what is making you make this game and keeping you inspired and keeping you going and making you excited about it. Like if it was about something that you had no experience with, like would you have even gotten this far, you know?
I would not have. No, I don't think so. Because there's definitely that emotional core to it where I'm always looking for, I don't know, again, like that validation and attention, right? Like, and then being able to validate myself through different art forms and stuff. Like, it's nice to be able to see that out in the world and know that it's going to be there. I feel like I'm having 18 thoughts at one time and I'm not getting the ones that I really want to get to. So I'm trying my best.
Okay, choose thought number 5.
Again, you're fitting in really well on the podcast. That's exactly
fantastic.
Not uncommon for either of us.
Love it. The other thing is, honestly, for those who don't know, Mike is really good at being like, so how's Rorasuketo going these days? You know, after like 6 months, he's like, so any updates? And I'm like, no. And I actually did give him a hard time one time for asking me because I was being very temperamental. But I was talking to my co-writer Tiffany, and we were discussing like what our roles are, which kind of, I might get to that in a second with you both. But she was like, okay, so it's like you're the one on the table giving birth. I'm the nervous dad pacing in the room. And I'm like, Mike is the midwife yelling push. That's exactly who he is. And
wow.
Yeah, I know, right? It's
maybe
totally
that's
gruesome.
the open quote. I don't know now. I got to choose.
I like it. No, it was the other one still.
So maybe you need to like define roles for each other, like a chore list, right? On a Saturday morning, like who's doing the dishwasher, who's vacuuming, like just divvy it up. I don't know. I'm just throwing random suggestions at y'all.
Yeah. But we don't even have a house.
I think we even
yet
had
that has chores.
I was
to
gonna
do.
say, I think we even had an episode once where we talked about how team making and like what that looks like in different roles on teams, because that's often a thing that I'm thinking about. It's like, how do you build a team that is the most successful? When I was directing an improv show, it was how do I build this? What skills do I give these people? What roles what do you bring to this table that you can bring and always rely on? Yeah, you need to be able to do everything, but what's your primary, right? Like I'm even in D&D, like I'm a support player. I don't like to be the face in a party. I like to be the one, or the big hitter. I like to be the one that's supporting things and keeping things going on. I do the same thing in improv scenes and at work. Honestly, like it's just that's just consistent with who I am. But if you only have support people, you have nothing. You don't have enough. And then you get that limitation though. Like what if that's the limitation you set on the whole thing? Like everything's support. How do you build a game around that, right? Like I don't know, I'm wandering aimlessly with this thought. But yeah, having different roles is so important because it gives you that lens through which to view the world. Otherwise you're trying to solve all the problems.
Yeah. For real. You can't really focus in on anything in particular. Which, forgive me. Forgive me for saying, I did try to listen to several podcasts before coming on, but y'all are so smart with your techno jargon that I couldn't even like totally keep up. So if I am repeating things you've already talked about, sorry.
Oh,
that's
don't
fine.
even worry about that. We repeat ourselves all the time.
Yeah, we repeat ourselves all the time.
We repeat ourselves all the time.
All the time. We're repeating.
All the time?
All the time. Repeating.
All the time. Repeating.
So there was a time when we were repeating ourselves. We repeated ourselves. No, I was thinking in the beginning, you know, in the Stone Age of this podcast, you know, a few years ago, that we tried to be a bit more, or we tried to be less jargony, or if we were jargony, to explain our jargon. But, you know, as with any podcast that goes, or any kind of project, relationship, anything that goes on, you know, you stop wanting to like explain yourself constantly, and you just talk normally, and you may just use jargon. So but it's always kind of in the back of my head when we start getting a little too technical. I'm like, man, should I stop and say, wait, we should explain what that means? You know, because you can't assume that anybody has listened to everything we've done and knows the lore. You kind of always have to do a little bit of recap, a little bit of a legend or a key, you know. But then I also think, well, if someone really cares to look into the thing they didn't understand that they heard, they would look it up because the internet and Google exists. So I don't know. I go back and forth on that all the time.
Yeah. Well, you're pretty good about calling me out if I say something very like computer science-y, and you're like, okay, wait, explain that one.
Can you explain what you meant by is?
Yeah. Sure. Is a state of being. By being, I mean existence. And by existence, yeah. I don't know where I was going with any of that.
Yeah. I was going to ask Cam at some point during this interview, although I don't know if you want to try to do this, but if you could and want to, can you give a summary of roller derby and how it works? Just for those who don't know.
I will try. So you have two teams. Whoever gets the most points wins. Can we start there? Is that good?
Got it. Done. Understand.
Each team has a jammer and blockers. And you play in segments called jams, and a jam is about 2 minutes long. And you're rotating your players. You have about 15 players. You just rotate your jammers and your blockers every 2 minutes or so, with like a little reset period in between, right? It's not like hockey where you're constantly jumping in and off the track. So the whistle blows. You have two jammers, one on each team, and they're trying to get past the blockers. And at a certain point, I can get into more detail, but at a certain point, something magical happens in a jammer's life. And then they're eligible to start scoring points. And then after that, every time you're lapping blockers, you're gaining points. So then you're collecting points, and then the jam eventually ends, either at 2 minutes or before that. The special time in a jammer's life is what kind of determines all the strategy. Because, up until then, it's like, oh, we're just hitting each other. Like, when you see roller derby, you're like, they're just running around a track hitting each other. Nothing's really happening. How are we so far? Are we ready to talk about lead jammer?
Yeah. I appreciate the top-down, like, high level, and then you approach things from the bottoms up, which is the way I think. Like, I need that context, and they're like, okay, and then here's the specific people on the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, thus far, it sounds like the jammer is sort of like a quarterback with a football, and at some point they are allowed or can get through the defensive line to run to the end zone, except it's on a circular track, not a line.
That's perfect.
You lost me with that sports analogy.
So man with thing want to go place, but can't at all times.
Oh, okay. So it's like delivering a pizza. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
Roller derby equals pizza delivery. Got it. Okay. Sorry. No, we're messing this up. So we've made fun of roller derby, but now you're going to explain it seriously once the jammer can start scoring points.
Okay, so the main strategy comes in the form of the lead jammer. When you first start the jam, everyone's, on equal footing, everything's cool. The first jammer to get out in front of everybody becomes lead jammer. So their hips pass everybody and they get out. And usually there's a big mass at the beginning of the game, right? The jam starts and everyone's in one big group. You have to be in a big group or you can't hit each other. It's not legal. That's another thing.
So if you're just like off by yourself, you can't just like punch someone in the face. But if you're in a big group, you can.
You're just pushing my buttons right now, sir. You're just doing that.
That is what I do. That's my role.
I'll come back to the pack. I'm sorry. I should have prepared
keep him
this
in
ahead
line.
of time.
He pushes the buttons. Yeah.
So the first jammer to get out becomes lead jammer, and then they have the power to control the jam, whether it starts or stops. So basically, they are like the king of the hill. They have the power to like decide how it's going to go. So the benefit of being lead jammer is you get out and then you can start scoring points. Once the other jammer gets out and starts coming around for their first points, then you can decide, like, did I get enough points? Do I want to call the jam and stop it? Did I get all the points I wanted? Or do I want this to keep going?
And how does the lead jammer decide that? Like, what's their algorithm?
Trying to decide, like, if they can get through the other blockers okay, like, if they're going at a good clip, how tired the other jammer looks, how tired they are, because honestly, being a jammer is exhausting. A lot of derby used to be fast, and I'm talking, like, 2010s, like, early 2010s, mid-2010s. Derby used to be very fast, and you'd be rolling around in circles over and over again. But in the mid-2010s, derby started getting slow. And so you'd have the whistle blow and everyone would be stopped completely. And the jammers would just be hitting this wall that was stopped and trying to slowly push it forward. So you imagine how exhausting that can get. So, yeah, it's just a mix of things. And the blockers are playing offense and defense at the same time as well, depending on the situation, right? Like, so your jammer's coming up on your team and you're like, okay, am I going to try and block this other jammer, or are we going to go and help her and hit the other blockers and help her get through? So being a jammer takes a lot of that situational awareness, but being a blocker does too. A lot of the plays are like from moment to moment, like, what are we doing right now? What's our goal? And it's constantly changing.
Is there a lot of communication between blockers of like, hey, we're going to do this now, like, but without saying words, you just kind of, or they're like set plays like in American football where you're running a certain kind of workflow? Yeah,
there can definitely be plays. We had some like buzzwords or whatever, or you might have like when the jammer's coming around the bend, coming up on the pack, coming up on all the blockers, the jammer might make a little hand signal like, I want you guys to go over here, or I want you to hit that blocker there, or here's what I'm going to do. Here's how you can facilitate that kind of thing.
So how much of this is reflected? I actually could spend like forever learning about this. It's really interesting to me. I just like learning new things. How much of that is reflected in your game? Because I know you play the game in there. Like, are you like, okay, you are a jammer and this is what you're going to focus on? Can you pick either role? Are you like leading it from a strategic perspective? Are you like in it? Like how did you approach that inside the game?
Here's where limitations come back, right? So my original plan was JRPG. You pick, are you going to be a blocker or a jammer? You follow your career. You choose who you're going to hit. You choose. But again, RPGMaker, you have to say, this sprite moves here, this sprite moves here. So what I ended up doing was there are like several branching points during a jam. So like I have it in my first jam. The jam starts, you have the choice of, you don't even have the choice. The jammer hits you, basically, and you either succeed or you fail. Okay. After that, she either passes you or she doesn't, and it's just very small conditional branches of you hit this person or you hit this person. And I have to be very deliberate about the branching. Like you don't have a lot of control. I'll just say that. It's very story-based in that gameplay as well. Because, again, there are so many options. There are so many options when you're playing roller derby. Do I do offense? Do I do defense? Which of the 4 other blockers do I hit? Do I hit the jammer? Do I follow the jammer? And I didn't even get to the pack, which is the pack has to be, every skater has to be within 10 feet of each other. So you can have 8 skaters on the track, all 10 feet apart, spread out like that. They can all be in a bunch. And then even like if I had the ability to do, like an AI, play against the computer situation, like programming that would be a whole pain in the ass too. So there's just too many options in roller derby. So you'd say like, why are you even making a game of roller derby? And that's how it started.
Unless that's the entire focus of the game is like just playing, which it seems like that was your original idea, was like, okay, I'm gonna make a roller derby game, and it grew into this like dating thing as well. Is my guess on how that proceeded in your brain? Because that's how it would have happened for me.
Pretty much, yeah. And am I making any sense with this? I hope
yes.
so. Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say, hopefully this isn't like being too meta or weird or anything. I have looked at other roller derby games that are out there, of which there are 2 on Steam. And one is a rhythm game dating sim, and the other one is like a visual novel with some roller derby gameplay elements, which I need to buy and test it out. I bought the other one. It was by a very small, can I say gaming studio, or I think it was one person. So it was like it was like mine, like a labor of love kind of thing, it seems like. And the other one's more polished and comes from like a studio. Like I think the other one, Roller Drama, I'll just name it, comes from like a sports management perspective. You have your 5 skaters and then you manage their moods and then you play some roller derby. But it sounds like the interface, from reviews I've read, it's like kind of gives you some control, but not a lot of control. So it's sort of automated, which makes sense because, again, there are so many options in roller derby. It's going to have to come to some kind of pattern or commonality in the way it functions, because there's just too much.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you for doing the summary. That was crucial. I don't know how much more detailed we wanted to get into it, especially because, like, I think you ended up with a game in the end that is more of it's more of the story and less of the mechanics of roller derby, because it does sound like making an actual roller derby sports game, like simulation, like if you were making the Madden version of roller derby, is a completely different kind of challenge and is not what you're going for in this game. And so I don't know if it's really worth getting further into the weeds on that, but it's kind of up to you.
No, I think that's a good place to stop on that, because again, I played it for 5 years, so I could probably go on for way, way, way too long, and it's taken me in the Wayback Machine, so I'll just never shut up.
What is your role when you play?
I was
a jammer or a blocker?
Blocker. Jammer is kind of like sort of like the diva position, if you can think of it that way. Like, but it's
the one I would never do. Got it.
Same.
Support role. You're the pivot, which is like the midway, like between you can be the jammer if you have to be. If the jammer really needs you, you can take that star, you can take that role and support them. Blocker, and partially because jammer is very physical, and I'm less of that, but it is good being in a group and having that group to back you up.
I was also curious because I know that you did reffing of roller derby as well, because there's also a referee who is watching everything and calling fouls and stuff like that. Like, can you speak a little bit?
There's 7 referees per game.
7 referees. So can you talk a little bit about what they do
at the same time?
At the same time, all watching the track at the same time.
Yeah, can you just speak on your experience doing that and how they affect the game?
Sure, I would love to. So each jammer has their own referee to start with. So that referee is counting the points, so they're watching the jammer, how many people they're actually passing. And passing can be very difficult to keep track of, despite what it sounds like, because of which lap you're on or whatever. So they're scoring points, and they're also looking to see if they're staying within the bounds of the track, that they're not cutting outside of bounds or anything like that, that they're not doing anything illegal. Then you have 2 other referees who are watching the pack to see if everyone's close enough together. So it's, the blockers are all close enough together to have legal blocking happen. So there's not chaos.
Right. Because you have to make sure that the flanking rules are being adhered to. I have to equate everything into D&D terms.
Yeah, that works. Flanking's good. I should be. You're not splitting the party. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, never split the party.
Never, ever. I did that yesterday in Shining Force too. Such a bad move. So you have then 3 other referees who are on the outside of the track who have to skate much faster than everybody else, which, but they're looking for like penalties in general, and they'll communicate as well with the inside, because you imagine the track is maybe, I don't know, I should know this off the top of my head, but maybe like 8 feet wide or something. And you smash like 10 women into that space, like a small space like that. And you're like, okay, whose hips did she pass before the jam ended? Who hit who? Who initiated the hit? Was it in a legal place? Where did that point go? And trying to keep track of everything. So you need 7. You really need 7. And sometimes it's like the refs are all like, okay, something happened in that jam. Let's all come into the middle, take a little time out. Did anybody have eyes on that? And you're all looking at each other, and it's like, I didn't see anything. Like, I was watching this over here. So reffing definitely tests your attention span, and you have to kind of like learn how to almost reuse your sight, like kind of blur your vision, but focus in at the same time. It's like a magic eye puzzle or something. I don't know.
I was gonna say, that's how I just approach. That's how I always am.
And did you enjoy reffing more or less than playing?
That's a good question.
Or is it just a different game, basically?
I think I enjoyed playing more. I also did non-skating official work, which is like the actual like chronicling of the points, if I may use the word chronicling, but like keeping track of the penalties. And so you're not on skates. Referees are on skates, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
And then non-skating officials are on the outside, not on skates, doing all the other, keeping track of the penalty box and all that stuff. So I enjoyed that, I think, more than reffing. And the cool thing about reffing is the community. And I mean, Derby, a lot of it, if you are on a good team with not a lot of mean girls, coming back to mean girls, but like the community is pretty awesome. And referees were always huge nerds. Like if you want to go hang out with people with a doctorate in physics, like go hang out at the referee table at the after party, you know, or the non-skating officials. So yeah, just like different little circles of people and meeting new people and that kind of thing, and working in a team in whatever capacity was great. And honestly, like even on like opposing teams, you could get to know those people and be friends with those people too, which is how I know Tiffany, the co-writer. She was on a different team and we were actually like friends. She spanked me on the line one time. It was really weird. We're lining up to do the jam and she just gave me a big one on the butt. And I'm like, all right, we're playing roller derby now. This is just how we're doing things.
We're friends now. I like
that's how you seal the deal in roller derby, I guess. That or awkward salmoning.
I suppose we should try to bring the episode home. I like that. Should try to bring the episode home. How about if you could give yourself a piece of advice from when you started this process? What was you said like 7 years ago or something like that? What would you tell yourself to have made your life easier to get to the point you are at in the game today?
Leave the sprites alone for 5 minutes and just move on with your life.
It's good advice.
But are you happy with the sprites that you have made, regardless?
I'm going to go back and change some things, I think, actually.
No, finish the jams.
Oh, sorry.
I know,
they didn't
right?
say leave it alone forever. They said leave it alone for 5 minutes. And that's good because it's so easy to get wrapped around the axle on like, I need to make this part perfect. It's not exactly like what I want. No. It's there. Like in my mind, I want placeholder sprites for everything. And then I will have someone that can make the real sprites later.
Yeah, because if you think about it in programming terms, the actual sprites are kind of, well, sorry, I don't mean for this to be offensive to someone who has spent a lot of time making wonderful sprites, but like from a programming viewpoint, the collision box is really the thing that matters more than the sprites. The sprites make them look like real things that you identify with and are fun to look at, but in terms of functionality, like most of them are boxes or small polygons or circles to the computer. So I think keeping that in mind, if you're trying to make a game and finish it, that's, you know, even though Matt's squares and blobs may not be visually engaging, they are largely what the computer is going to use to figure out whether you hit something or whether your bullet shot an enemy or whether you're outside of the bounds of the playing area or something. But yes, make awesome visuals, because that's the thing that, like when you go to a website and you immediately look at it and you see it moving around, you're like, ooh, those visuals are nice. They make me want to play it. Whereas squares and blobs are a little harder to, you know, immediately engage. We should bring this home. So I just want to ask one final question, unless you had questions for us before I ask that.
I did listen to the episode where y'all were talking about making the game you want to make and how you were talking about exploration as one facet and all that kind of thing. Did you decide who your audience is besides yourself, if anyone?
Nope.
Okay. I think that's the
just
other.
us for now.
Probably should at some point.
Because I think that's the other thing that helped me too. If I may do the sage, like put on the sage hat again, like thinking about, is my game for roller derby people or is it for video game fans of the Super Nintendo? Or is it for both? And that has helped guide a lot of decisions too.
What was the decision you made there?
Roller derby fans, I think, kind of story fans.
So someone who who looks at a picture of Rorasuketo and is like, that looks like a Super Nintendo era RPG that I played in my youth, is not your audience, but someone who sees someone playing roller derby is like, ooh, I know roller derby, or I'm interested in roller derby. I want to play that.
Oh, now I don't know anymore. I think
your primary audience that you're like, I'm going to please this audience the most, sounds like it's the roller derby like fans.
I think
or
so.
Players. But you also want it to be appealing to someone who doesn't know any of that, but does like, say, the art style or that style of video game. Oh, I want to play this dating sim. Oh, cool. I also get to run into people if enough of my friends are around nearby. I think that's a very valid way of looking at things. Like I tend to say, like, I know I am not the usual customer of most things. I don't approach the world the way most people do. So when I build something for myself, if that also appeals to other people, fantastic. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, it won't. And that's where other people can come in and say, you know what would be actually fun here? Like when I made Shut the Box, and Mike was like, you know what this game needs? Graphics and music. Just basic gameplay.
Just as a preview, a small tiny preview for a future episode we may do soon. I was looking at a project Matt shared, and I played it, and I'm like, okay, cool, this is functional. It does what he said it does. Awesome. I can't wait to hack on this. But if I'm honest,
that's all it's supposed to do.
Right. But my honest gut reaction is like, there's no music playing in the background. When I hit something, it doesn't make a sound. I need to fix that.
Great. That's the part of the game. I play almost all video games completely on mute. So
he's not going to hear
like,
my amazing soundtrack when he plays Rorasuketo.
Well, if I could get it to work, I would absolutely listen to it. It does not want to run on my computer.
Oh no,
it's too new.
Like I said, we can
talk
about that later because I have spent some time getting it to work on various computers. I just had two final questions for you. One is, what do you have left roughly to get done for this game to go gold? And I forgot the second one, but I'll think of it while you're answering the first one.
To go gold.
Second one is, are you going to put this on Kickstarter?
Yeah. You said to put the gold master disc to send to the distributor to make copies.
You can release it, and like if you never touched it again, you would be okay.
Right.
You wouldn't be happy, but you'd be like, this is good enough.
You'd be happy enough to say, I'm done.
The main thing I have to get done is the ugly part of programming the games themselves. But the music's done. The sprites are, I would give them 95%. Yeah, honestly, I left the worst part for last. I left the hardest part for last, which is poor planning on my part. But just getting the grind. We're talking about the grind again.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's the part of everything you've described that I'm like, oh, that part sounds fun to do. Everything else, I'm like, that sounds hard. I don't know how I would do that. Oh, coding the logic for the actual game. Yes.
Although I will say doing the promotional stuff has been a nice break. Like, because then I can say like, oh, I should be working on the actual gameplay of the roller derby bout, but also I need to make a 3x5 to put in the game store. So I'll just do that for a minute and then come back. I don't know if that's helpful or working for me or not, but I'll go with it.
It's your little reward. It's your little cookie that you get to eat because you did some other stuff. And, that's how you could do. You could potentially set up more fun, artsy, creative marketing things, but only if you finish one of the bouts. Like, that's your constraint.
That's my midwife.
That's how I get through work every day. That's what I do for work every day. It's like, okay, I got this thing I have to do. I don't necessarily want to do, but I have this other part of the project that I want to work on. I have to do this first. Then I get to do that part.
Right. It's positive reinforcement, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and my final question before we wrap up, this has been wonderful, by the way. Thank you so much for doing this. When you're done with Rorasuketo, it will be your first finished video game. Am I correct in saying that?
I finished like a 5-minute one once, but other than that, yes.
Okay, but like a large-scale game, it'll be your first one done. Okay. Do you think you will make another one after this?
Not unless I have somebody else do it with me, like your lovely partnership you have going right now.
It is helpful to have a witness at the very least, yes.
Yeah, for real. It's a lot to do for one person, and to not be able to, I mean, I can take a break in one way, but also it's like, it's not going to change when I come back. Like, it's going to be exactly where I left it. Somebody can't pick up. So yeah. It'd be cool to make another game after this, but some stuff would have to change. I think also internally with me, with like being able to let go of some control and let somebody else in and have that trust and stuff, because I think that's another piece of why I end up working on so much stuff alone. It's just hard to get into that dynamic, I guess. I'm just not as social in that way.
You got to find that piece that, like, I care about this. This is the thing that's really meaningful to me in this. And no one can mess with this part. But I have ideas about these other things, and I'm willing to compromise there.
Mm-hmm.
Matt did a fantastic episode 55, Improv Dev, Teams and Trust. But also
that's the one.
episode 99, Teams. So yeah, we've talked about this multiple times where being on a team definitely has pros, but that trust is crucial. It's required in order for you to give up control and know that it's not going to go haywire.
Especially in a creative endeavor. When I teach improv, one of the first things I tell people is that I personally don't believe that you can be creative if you don't feel safe. Like, I think that's a necessary condition to foster creativity. And so, like, if you don't feel comfortable with the team environment that you've created, like you're working with some stranger and they keep throwing odd ideas out that you hate, you're going to pull back creatively as well.
That's great. I love that.
You can have that. It's free.
You can have that. That's yours. Okay. Well, I think that about does it. Are you happy with everything we covered? Was there anything we missed?
From me?
Yeah.
I feel like I talked about roller derby entirely too much, and I hope that y'all had fun. And I really appreciate it. This is super awesome. I feel very special and shiny.
Excellent. Well,
We enjoyed having you here.
Yes. It's a completely different dynamic to have a third person, but I love it because it's whenever you bring anybody into a solo project and then a third person, it just changes the texture and the flow. And I knew this was a good idea because I knew that this project was near and dear to your heart, and you know it best. And me trying to kind of do a facsimile of, oh yeah, I know what Rorasuketo is all about. Let me tell you. In the last episode, this was the real deal. So thank you for being a part of this. We appreciate it. So yes, thank you everyone to listening to this episode of Hacking the Grepson. If you want to hear more episodes, you can go to hackingthegrepson.com, where we try to continue to put out an episode every other week on Wednesday. So far, still meeting that standard. That's our constraint. Like, we could have tried to put out more episodes more often or fewer, but this seems to be the perfect cadence, and thus far it's worked this far. So,
and it wouldn't if Mike didn't keep adhering to that, because I'm awful about it.
See, having that other person helps in all of walks of life. Anyway, but until the next time we talk at you, we now return you to your regularly scheduled lives already in progress.